Hey guys, it is me, DC, the Purple Diva, and today's vlog is going to be a story time. I'm on a wireless headset, so I hope that the sound quality is right. But please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. I'm just taking a nice Saturday walk. It's nice here in Southern California, so figured I'd walk and talk. So today's story time is going to be about the time someone called Child Protective Services, CPS, on me. And one of the reasons why I'm doing this story time is because I know that recently another autism family YouTubing had CPS called on them. I believe it was Fathering Autism, whom I follow. And when that happened to them, I could only sympathize with them. And unfortunately, if you have a child on the autism spectrum and you live around people who are ignorant about autism, don't really know what it is that you're dealing with, if you have a child that is not high functioning, who maybe is severely autistic or moderately autistic, and even if they are high functioning, kids have meltdowns and kids have behavior issues. But this happened when my son was like around somewhere between the ages of 7 and 9. Might have been I take that back. He was a little younger. He was probably like around the age, probably like 7. And it happened when my mom was actually living in my back house at the time, because I lived in another city at the time when my mom was alive, and I had 2 homes on a lot, and she lived in the back house. So anyway, I found out, obviously, when a lady from CPS, shows up at my house, like 6 or 7 o'clock at night, to have a conversation with me. She doesn't tell me who called her, but I know who it was. It was an older next door neighbor who lived in who was renting a unit from my actual next door neighbor, and they were older and Eastern European, and really mean in my opinion. I'm sorry about that, guys. Let me pause this for a second. All right, I'm back. Neighborhoods, hazards of walking in your neighborhood. So anyway, as I was saying, it was the lady from CPS came over. She wouldn't tell us, who had called her. But, we went through the thing. She told us she told me she had come by a house. And by the way, this was after I was divorced. So my ex-husband was not living there. It was me and my son. I don't know what's going on behind me. This chick doesn't know how to work her alarm for some reason. So anyway, from there, you know, she said she had come by the house several times, and the majority of what they had said she found to be unfounded, because this is what these people said. They said that my son was being left unattended, that he would be out in the backyard at all hours of the night, nobody was there watching him. All lies, of course, because my mom was, number one, there when I wasn't there, and number two, he wasn't outside at all hours of the day or night. You know, he would be in the backyard sitting in a chair most of the time. So this whole situation was just so stupid to me. But, you know, I had to, you know, take this serious, because, you know, this was affecting my child. And at the time that it happened, thank God, my aunt was in town at the time that it happened, you know. So needless to say, you know, this woman came into my house, you know, was walking around my house and everything. And I don't know about you guys, and I'm sorry, it's probably all up in my face. Y'all been looking at me close, sorry. I don't know about you guys, but me, with the kid that I have, he's not one of those kids on the spectrum that is neat. I think I've told you guys in previous videos that he's somewhat of a hoarder, and my version of orderly is not his. His, you know, other than lining up his cars and stuff and everything, you know, most of the time he likes his world in chaos, you know, and it's a constant cleaning up his room, trying to keep the house in order, everything, you know, just because of that. And it was especially like that when he was a child. So, you know, the lady comes in, we talk about the stuff, you know, and I'm asking her, you know, what do I need to do? She says nothing. She says, you know, I'll just come back, you know, come back out to visit, you know, and basically she came back out like maybe a couple of weeks later. I knew what date she was coming, so I was able to make sure that my son's room didn't look a freaking mess like it normally does on that day. But I wasn't dealing with behaviors or anything, at least not in public or anything at that time. But I can just imagine, you know, if my son is acting out in public, and he has done so in public, you know, and you're having to restrain your child to protect you and to protect them from harming themselves, and then somebody calls CPS. That is like insane. Needless to say, in my situation, you know, thankfully, I had the caseworker from Child Protective Services from Child Welfare Department had some understanding of children on the autism spectrum, but they don't always have that, you know, and it can be difficult, you know, trying to explain to them. Here in California, I had to notify the regional center, you know, that this had happened, you know, and then you also have the thing of, you know, if your child hurts or harms themselves and they have an injury, people may be looking at you sideways when they're at school. So those are other situations where people may be calling Child Protective Services on a parent of a child on the autism spectrum, when in most situations the parent is doing nothing but trying to protect their child from themselves and trying to keep them from harming others. And most of the time, we end up getting injured trying to protect, ourselves and them and restrain them. So that's one of the reasons why I do my channel, is really just to educate people. I don't know it's much louder now because now I'm on the major street and I'm not walking on the quiet street like I was before. But I do the channel because I want people to be educated about what's going on with the kids on the autism spectrum and everything. And one of the reasons why you've got parents who have channels on YouTube and are putting themselves out there, they're putting themselves out there and they're being vulnerable to something like possibly having Child Protective Services called on them. And I'll be right back. All right, so we're gonna continue. Well, like I was saying, when you have a child on the autism spectrum, that's one of the fears that we have, is of having CPS called on us in regards to our child when we didn't do anything to our child. But because of the behaviors, they may injure themselves, or maybe acting strange to other people, at least in public, and because the lack of understanding about the autism spectrum, as I say all the time, because it is a spectrum. None of the kids act the same. These people are about to hit somebody. And they get that music blasting like I don't know what. So anyway, but like I said, it is a spectrum. And that means that, being neurodiverse, you're going to have kids all over, and the kids that are more nonverbal, that's kind of where it's a lot more challenges, because they're not able to sometimes speak and say what happened, and people make false allegations in regards to our treatment of our children, which has got to stop, But in some situations, you've had kids on the spectrum who have unfortunately been killed, and some killed by parents. So I understand that there does need to be a concern, but I think some of it is truly overzealous in nature, and some is spiteful, because I honestly don't think in the situation with fathering autism that it was called for. Someone just got stupid, honestly, because I know what's going on, with their kid. They have a severely autistic child, and she's not verbal, so it's a situation, that CPS needs to be more. They need to be more knowledgeable. Like I said, thankfully here in California, at least the person that I dealt with had some knowledge of autism. Someone in her family, friends, had kids, so she knew what was going on when she came out on the call. And it's just by the grace of God that she was the one who took the call, because it could have been someone else who took the call who didn't have that kind of knowledge, and I could have been in a situation where somebody was trying to take my kid. And that's not a good situation to be in. So, I know I'm up here just talking away, and the phone is all over the place, and I'm all over the place. But, yeah. So this was just like a story time while I was walking to go get me some coffee. And, I'm probably gonna go live in a little bit because my son is not here. And then I'm going to go do some karaoke with my sister, and I may vlog at that too. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of share my experience with CPS, with my child on the autism spectrum. You know, I think for me, I'm probably a little bit more willing to share my son on camera because he's no longer a child and no one can call CPS on me. I probably would have been afraid to do what some of these other families are doing now when my son was younger because of people's just ignorance, period. So, you know, I'm hoping that things get better, but you know, that's part of the reason why I'm on YouTube. That's part of the reason why these other families are on YouTube. We're on YouTube so that you guys can become aware and accepting of our kids on the spectrum, you know, because they have a right to be here, have a right to live a good quality of life. And that's one of the things that we, as their parents, are trying to make sure happens. So I'm gonna go ahead and end this here. And I'm gonna edit this later on. Hopefully, when I go to edit it, it comes out clear, and I feel that I got the message across that I wanted to get across about my experience through this story time. So guys, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. I have the ways to reach me on other social media at the beginning of this video. And guys, peace. See y'all the next time. Bye.